Hi, and welcome back to No Cabin Fever today. With us today, we have Nikki from Jexo, and she will tell us how to improve your release process using release templates. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to Nikki. Enjoy.
Hello. Thank you for such a warm introduction. I'm really happy I can have this talk on No Cabin Fever today. Let me just quickly share my screen. So today I would like to talk about release templates and how to improve your release process and product delivery using release templates. Let me quickly introduce myself. So I'm Nikki Zavadska, co-founder of Jexo. And in Jexo, we help product teams to improve how they deliver work with our Jira planning apps. Before starting in Jexo, I was working as an application support lead, and I was also responsible for managing incidents and the releases. When we work with our clients, we often see that releases are very hard. You can see that releases are often slipping. That's usually caused by delays in a delivery. Teams have visibility issues. They don't know when or why work needs to be finished, and that ultimately causes the misalignment. People aren't focusing on the right thing in the right time, and they are doing unnecessary work. But what causes all of this? I'm sure that we hire all the best people into our teams. So what else is missing? This points us usually to lack of the structure. Great team collaboration takes time to build, but the consistency, visibility, and alignment make it easier for people to take ownership of their decisions and work, and makes the team collaboration much, much easier. So let's have a look on how we can improve this with a release governance framework. So this framework helps you to build or review and adapt your release processes. Test what works for you and your team and what doesn't, and act on that as well. So first, we need to start with standardizing our process. The goal here is to figure out what are our current pain points and start getting team on board and excited about the changes that are about to come. Let's not forget that this should be a team effort as well. Then we will create a release template that we can use to track our releases and store this valuable information. And in the end, we are going to analyze our releases to see what we should focus on improving next. So this all sounds like a great theory, right? But how can we do this in practice? Let's have a look on each of these steps separately then. We are going to use a Release Governance Workbook to turn this framework into practice. I'm going to show you an example of how we used it in one of our teams I work with and how it helped us improve. First, we need to do the process assessment and see what works and where are the gaps. So for that, we usually run the retro with everyone even a little bit involved in the release process. You can see that here we gathered really good feedback and saw that our team is quite frustrated because we almost always push the release date because we were adding additional stories and tasks to our sprint. That lead us to quite lengthy release cycles, and product owners tried to stack more requirements in the sprint again because they weren't really confident then the next release is going to be on time or not. And this became a vicious circle from which is very hard to escape. On the other hand, you can see that team was very confident with delivering hot fixes for the incidents, and it seemed to be they seem to be very efficient with that. So we got an idea to pick up some of the patterns from our hotfix process and try to apply them to our normal delivery sprints too. We had a theory that if we make our sprints short enough, then probability of having many major regression bugs decreases, and our release won't get blocked. And we also hope that product owners get more confident that we won't slip and would include changes in the next sprint instead of the current sprint we were working on. So with the new learnings, we started drafting our new workflows using a workflow builder. So first, we defined different types of releases depending on what value they deliver to the business. or what impact they have on our customers and processes they go through. In our case, we define them as an MVPs, improvements, hotfixes, and bugfix sprints. We could think of many more, but first we wanted to keep the process simple and see how it works, and then later iterate. Then we also brainstormed all kinds of release stages or milestones our release needs to go through. This can be quality gates or high-level activities you need to complete for your release. So in our case, it's research and design, development, regression test, bug fixes, smoke testing, and documentation update. Again, we could think of many more, but we really tried to make this simple. Then we had a look on which of these activities are relevant for our different type of releases we identified. So you can see that, for example, MVPs have a different stages than the hotfixes, where we can, for example, skip the design phase or updating the documentation and others. And the last, we all agreed on how long each stage takes. This is really dependent on the release types as well. So you can see that, for example, design and research phase will take much more time in MVPs, where you want to make sure you're building the right thing and test your idea before you go to development. But on the other hand, when you're doing a smaller improvements to your existing product, you don't need to spend that much time on research, so it takes much shorter. You can also notice that we tried to keep improvements release cycle short, so we don't need to be afraid. We don't need to be afraid that product owners will add the additional requirements to the current sprint, but they will be able to wait to the next release. So then we needed to make sure that we are going to follow these workflows, right? And we needed to make sure that all team is on board. So we updated our release templates to include the information about the release type and release stages. So here you can see an example of a pre-prepared MVP release report with all predefined stages and also their duration that we agreed with the team in a previous exercise. And now when we plan for the new release, we will just fill the template with all the relevant information and we can store it there. This is very important because you would only be able to improve your release process later and see if it works and or if it doesn't, if you have this data available. So these plans are also great to align your team on the goal of the release and expectations around the schedule. But we also use them for go live goals where we were doing release risk assessment with the release manager and the whole team. And the last step is analyze. To be able to make any further improvements to your processes, and especially to focus on improving right parts, it's good to measure the release health. To do this, we use the health checker that defines three main release health KPIs. Percentage of the failed releases, percentage of releases that slipped, and number of releases per release type. It's also good to track these metrics on the project or team level, as you can see here. So you can best see what you should be focusing on, create the right hypothesis, and talk to the right people. If you don't track these metrics just now with your team, you can still work with your team to get some guesstimates on the numbers. And once you track your releases properly for a while, let's say around 1 to 2 months, depending on how long your release cycles are, you can compare them and see how it goes. It's always good to start with something, right? In our case, we saw that one of our teams had way too many hotfixes, which you can see over here. That's really unhealthy for the team to be in a constant firefighting. They might not have enough time to focus on the other work, which might be also important, and they might be underperforming after a while. Another team, on the other hand, as you can see here, had a lot of slippages. So a very high percentage of their releases were slipping. And when we looked down on the release types they were delivering, we saw that they delivered only 2% of improvement releases and 65% of bug fix sprints. So that can make us think there might be some serious issue with the quality of the code or how they prioritize their work, and we should really have a deeper look in it. So as you can see, it's much easier to take action when you track your release health. If you identify serious issues like here, have another retrospective with the team and try to optimize the process again. Remember, learn and iterate. So go ahead and run this exercise with your team and improve your release delivery process. You can download the workbook in this link. Once you define your release workflows, you might be starting thinking where to store all of this information and make it accessible to everyone. And that's really important if you want to encourage the team collaboration, because your teams and the people can take ownership over different stages and take the right decisions if they are all aligned to your plan. If you're looking for something that already integrates with tool your teams use, which is Jira, then you might be interested in our app, Swanly. So Swanly is a release management tool that allows you to define your own workflows. You can easily create the release types and its stages, and also set default duration over here, which will make planning of your releases much quicker. Swanly also allows you to create release reports like this and track real-time progress of your stages and release scope. So you wouldn't need to do it manually anymore. And it also allows you to track releases across the projects on the timeline or in the list view. And last and not least, we are also soon introducing a release health insights. So here you will be able to analyze the percentage of releases that slipped or failed, but also what were the types of the releases which your teams delivered over the given time period. So if you are looking for a way to generate your reports faster, store them in one place, and you don't want to spend time on generating your release health metrics manually, you can have a look on Swanly. It's the application for Jira Cloud, and it's available on the Atlassian marketplace. Thank you everyone for your time today, and don't forget to download the workbook.
Thank you very much, Nikki. And for the audience, if there's any questions, there is the Q&A box at the bottom of the Zoom window. So just please use that to answer or to ask any questions, and then Nikki will be happy to answer them. As tomorrow is a public holiday in Germany, we won't be having any talks tomorrow to fight your cabin fever, but we'll be back on Friday with a talk by Stillsoft about effortless employee tracking and Confluence. And Katharina will tell you everything about this on Friday then. So yeah, hope to see you back on Friday. Enjoy the rest of the day. Take care and bye-bye.